This happened less than a month ago. I'm a senior in high school, and I've lived in Nevada my whole life. There's not a whole lot to do here, but one thing me and my friends always loved was urban exploring. Abandoned buildings, old tunnels, dead malls, anything that felt forgotten by time. It wasn't about vandalizing or stealing. It was about the vibe, the thrill of exploring places people didn't even remember existed. The guy who always found the weirdest spots was Charles. Quiet, mysterious, the type who'd show up with some sketchy pin drop deep in the desert and just say, "Trust me." One evening he texted us a screenshot from a low-follower Instagram page filled with blurry photos and disturbing captions. One post in particular said, "Dozens of abandoned mine shafts in the Mojave Desert, if you know where to look." Charles had been talking to the account owner, who fed him a GPS coordinate with almost no details. That was all it took for Charles to get obsessed. So, that Saturday, it was me, Charles, and our other friend, James. I had an off-road ready Jeep Wrangler, so we packed up and headed out. No real address, just a pin drop somewhere in the Mojave. We turned off the highway early. The dirt road looked more like a dried-up creek bed. For over an hour, we saw nothing. No buildings, no signs. Just desert, rock, and silence. James started getting irritated, muttering about how we'd been trolled by some loser online. But Charles, as usual, insisted we keep going. Just when we were about to call it, James pointed off to the right. At first, it looked like just a shadow, but as we got closer, we saw it, a collapsed wooden frame built into the slope of a hill. A mine shaft. The opening had partially caved in, but there was still a dark hole leading into the earth. Charles didn't say anything. He just dropped a pin, smiled, and muttered, "Told you." We parked and geared up. Charles even brought industrial masks. He was way more prepared than usual. When we approached the entrance, Charles tossed a rock in. We waited. Clang, clang, clang. Then nothing. We started descending. The shaft sloped downward at a sharp angle, the walls reinforced by rotting beams. It got cold, fast. After what felt like forever, the shaft opened into a wider tunnel with old rusted rails and splinters of broken tools. The air was thick, dusty, lifeless. We wandered aimlessly, mostly quiet. Then we heard it, a low dragging noise, distant but deliberate. At first, I thought it was just the tunnel echoing our own movements. But Charles stopped, then James. We turned off our flashlights. Darkness swallowed us, and the scraping sound came again, closer this time. Metal on stone, slow and steady. A chill ran down my spine. Then, in a clumsy panic, James accidentally flicked his flashlight back on. The noise stopped. Silence. Then, clang. A deafening metallic crash echoed from deep within the tunnel. Then something else. A scream. Not human, not animal. Just pure, horrific rage. Something primal and broken. We bolted. I was in the back and slipped hard. Lost a shoe. Didn't matter. I kept running, barefoot, every step stabbing like glass. We scrambled up the incline, lungs burning. When I finally burst into daylight, my foot was wrecked. James and Charles had to drag me to the car. We didn't stop driving until we hit a hospital. I needed stitches, a tetanus shot, and couldn't walk for days. But that wasn't the end. A few days later, James realized he dropped his wallet near the mine. Against better judgment, we went back, but just to the entrance. The wallet was gone, but we found my shoe. It was shredded like it had been chewed. There were teeth marks on it, chunks missing. We didn't stick around. I didn't tell anyone else. Not until a few weeks later, when I took a trip with my girlfriend Dickie. She and I are both nature lovers. No resorts or hotels, just camping, stars, and silence. That weekend, we picked a remote desert site known for perfect stargazing. No towns, no people, just raw wilderness. The first 2 nights were amazing. Campfires, cold drinks, weed under the stars. But both nights we heard something strange. A moaning howl, distant, drawn out. Not quite human, not quite animal. The second night we heard it again. Same time, same direction. We tried laughing it off, chalking it up to coyotes. But the third night, everything changed. I woke up around 2 a.m. to the sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, crunching over dry dirt just outside our tent. I didn't move, just stared at the tent ceiling, praying whoever was out there would walk away. Then, flick, the spark of a lighter. Through the tent wall, I saw a tiny orange flame. Then the glow waved back and forth, like someone showing off that they were there. The flame grew. It wasn't a lighter anymore. Someone lit a torch or rag. They dropped it. The tent burst into flames. Panic. Chaos. We grabbed what we could and ran outside barefoot. Dickie doused part of the fire while I stomped on anything catching. Half the tent was gone. I grabbed the flashlight, scanned the area. Nothing. We started packing and walking fast. Couldn't find the truck at first in the dark. Then we heard it. That scream again. But longer. Louder. And now, multiple voices. Overlapping. Howls echoing from the desert. We found the truck and took off, bouncing over the terrain, barely able to control the wheel. By the time we hit pavement, I felt like I was going to throw up. We reported it. Cops said they'd look into it. But I couldn't shake the feeling that what we'd heard in that mine and what we heard outside the tent, it was the same. I talked to my mom a few days later. Casual conversation. She was born in northern Mexico, never talked about her past. When I brought it up this time, she paused. There are things buried in the desert that should never be dug up, she said softly, eyes distant. Then she smiled, like she hadn't said anything. Now I'm wondering if this wasn't all coincidence. If maybe some of it runs in the family.